Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the second Aga Khan program lecture of this year's series. Tonight, our lecturer, Professor Dr. Gulfishan Khan, will be speaking about her current research on Shahjahanabad, as described in official Mughal historiography. I will now introduce herself. Upon completing her doctoral thesis in the University of Oxford in 1993, she wrote a related book titled Indian Muslim Perceptions of the West During the 18th Century, which was published by Oxford University Press in 1998. Dr. Khan is now professor of history at the Aligarh Muslim University, India. Presently, she is chairperson of the Department of History and coordinator of the Center of Advanced Study. She is also the director of that university, of the university museum called Musa Dakri University Museum. She has been a visiting fellow at Oxford University recently in 2019-20, where she examined various rare manuscripts of the Pādshāhnāma of Sheikh Mohammed Warith, an official history of Shah Jahan's reign. Now, Professor Khan is here in Cambridge. We are happy to have her here as a Fulbright Fellow, as an associate of our Aga Khan program at Harvard University. The project she's pursuing for the whole academic year is entitled Bureaucrats, Scholars, Sufi Saints, Physicians, and Poets, Cultural Atmosphere of Emperor Shah Jahan's Court as reflected in the Pādshāhnāma. Gulfishan Khan's early publications focused on 18th century Indian intellectual history and the history of the Aligarh movement. Since 2000, however, she has studied textual expressions of imperial Mughal visual and material culture during the first half of the 17th century, considering its intersection with mystical ideas and the religious environments in India. She has examined such topics as interfaith dialogue, Indo-Persian historiography, and Shahjahani architecture as reflected in the historiography. Her recent articles include, and she has many, I just chose from the top, the Shahjahanname's imperial views on history, and another study on Sufism and Sufi life during Shah Jahan's era. Tonight, her lecture is titled, as you know, Shahjahanabad, the city of Shah Jahan, is described in the Pādshāhnāma. But before Professor Khan begins, I will go over some of the housekeeping rules for tonight's lecture. Our speaker will deliver her lecture without interruption, as usual. Then we will have a question and answer session. We are using a relatively more closed Zoom webinar format in compliance with Harvard University's security recommendations. We have also disabled the chat function here. Although it may be a bit impersonal compared with our pre-COVID intimate in-person lectures based on campus, these settings will allow, actually they will cut down the distractions both for the speaker and for the audience. Finally, if you have any questions after the lecture, I ask you that you raise your hand at the button found on the taskbar at the bottom of the Zoom window. Please be ready for me to call on you to ask your question. I look forward to a thoughtful question and answer session after the lecture. Now, please join me in welcoming Professor Gulfishan Khan. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Gulru, for a very generous introduction. I would like to start my lecture first by thanking Professor Gulru, Professor Bor for giving me a place here as a fellow when I requested them, and it is my privilege to speak tonight on something which I'm pursuing as a Fulbright Fellow. To begin with, I'm dealing with Emperor Shah Jahan and his contribution in the construction of a new city, that is Shahjahanabad. But before going over to the theme, I would like to introduce Shah Jahan itself, how he is described in the official sources. His original name was Prince Khurram, means joyous, and he is son and successor of Emperor Nuruddin Jahangir, and he ascended the Mughal throne on 14th February 1628 with a lofty title of Abul Muzaffar Shahabuddin Muhammad Sahab Qirane Sani Shah Jahan Pādshāh Ghazi. In English, that can be translated as Father of Victory, Star of Religion, Lord of Auspicious Planetary Conjunction, King of the World, Emperor, Warrior of the Faith. And the public ceremony took place in the Diwan-e-Am, the hall of public audience in the royal citadel, that is at Agra, which was his earlier capital. This is one of his portrait when perhaps he's sitting on in Diwan-e-Khas there in Agra, or later on in Shahjahanabad, where he shifted his capital. And this is also just for you to show what are the various sources to study Shahjahanabad. There are a number of sources to study Shahjahanabad. I am introducing you what is Shahjahanabad. Actually, Shahjahanabad is the city which he chose to shift his capital from Agra to another city which had been capital of India since long. So there are three types of sources to study, even in the textual sources. One of the major sources to study his reign is a book written by Chandrabhan Brahman, who was a writer, a scholar who served Emperor Shah Jahan and later on also for some time Aurangzeb. So he describes some of his qualities, that actually emperor is capable of managing entire affairs of the state. He is, what he writes is sort of Dasturul Amal or code of conduct. His writing is a specimen of calligraphers. I have to read it out. I got it translated myself, this Chahar Chaman, because unfortunately we do not have any writing of Emperor Shah Jahan, unlike his Babar, or unlike, say, Jahangir. He left no memoirs. It is very, very difficult to understand his mind, to appreciate his contribution. We are left with no option but to study the official historiography. So to begin with, it is considered largely a golden age of architecture for the India, for the Mughal Empire. And such are the claims of the official historiographer. He had a number of official historiographers because he was not writing his own memoirs, but he wanted that something like Abul Fazl's Akbarnama should be repeated. So he had a number of people tried, like Muhammad Amin bin Hassan Qazwini, he wrote Pādshāhnāma. And thereafter, there was another historian called Tabatabai. But finally, he chose a man who was from Lahore, and most of the work is written by Abdul Hamid Lahori. He wrote for the first 2 decades, and finally the third volume is written by Sheikh, whom I'm talking about, whose writing I'm talking about to you, the third historian of his reign. But he is writing in similar way, the way earlier historian Lahori has written, because the work of writing was done by a team of writers, but only the name of the main leading historian is given, like Sheikh Abdul Hamid Lahori. And for the last decade, there is this Sheikh Waris, who was related to Lahori. They were India-born scholars, but they are appreciating the reign because throughout there is panegyric or there are appreciation for emperor. So they are declaring by using this Arabic phrase that these are our works, those works we display, behold our works when we have passed away, and they declare that this is golden age. And we find similar kind of rhetoric later on also. There is Muhammad Hashim Khafi Khan writing in the late 18th century, first quarter of 18th century. He too says that it was the best period of Mughal history. And then coming to the modern scholars, Percy Brown, who has done this classical work on architecture, he says similar things. And then coming to his biographer, B.P. Saxena, there is similar assessment of his reign. And then if we try to find out many questions which historian or historian of architecture and art would like to say as to who are the architect, who are the builders, who planned the city, who are the planners, we cannot find answer to those. What we find is everything is attributed to emperor by invariably all the historians, including a semi-official historian, Muhammad Saleh Kambo, whose work has been edited. So this is a translation which myself I did from Shahjahanbad, which relates to the first decade of his reign. So they are giving entire credit to him, his pure intellect, he's illustrious like a sun, and all the buildings or imarat, he are constructed or ordered and planned by him, because emperor has abiding love of land development, urban planning, constructiveness, spreading of ornamentation, and nourishing of purity. Most of the buildings are delicately designed and planned by him. And then similar discourse occurs in the third volume written by Sheikh Waris, that entire Shahjahanabad is planned by His Majesty Qiran-e-Sani, because Qiran-e-Sani is the title he took for himself. And then we find this kind of rhetoric that for emperor is nothing but a gardener, a chaman pera, garden, bagh, or bostan of Hindustan, of India, because we know that apart from building monuments, Shah Jahan laid many gardens which are to be studied by us, because we consider that Shala, the famous Shalamar garden of Kashmir, was laid by Jahangir. Jahangir initiated it, Noor Jahan also contributed, but even before he became emperor, it is Emperor Shah Jahan who really nurtured and laid gardens. So that is a different study about gardens. Therefore, perhaps the historians are not wrong. Modern scholars' study shows that Shah Jahan loved flowers, and therefore during his reign, the flowers began to be widely used as an ornamental motif par excellence in textile, in painting, in bookbinding, in architecture, in decorative art. And the example of this kind of decoration is Parchin Kari, or the Petra Dwera, which has been discussed by scholars, where it originated in Europe, in Italy, or India. But the historian of his reign gives full credit to Emperor Shah Jahan. Here is the reason why the capital was changed. The earlier capital's name is Agra, which was renamed by him Akbarabad. And the reason of change are two, that Akbarabad is very restricted place. It is very difficult to accommodate, especially when there are ceremonies. And second reason is giving that there is no Jama Masjid, also the congregational mosque. Although we know Jama Masjid, or the congregational mosque, was being built by Jahara, who is also his daughter and one of the major contributor in architecture as well. But these are the two reasons of shifting the capital. And while the capital was shifted, in shifting of capital, like the modern planners, Shah Jahan decided that first there should be selection of a place, like the modern builders. And the place what he selected is known as Noorgarh. It is very well described that there is a place Noorgarh, which is very close to earlier settlements, because Delhi is very well-known city, very well-researched city. We know that before the building of Shahjahanabad, there were number of cities already in Delhi. So where the area he selected is near Noorgarh. And second consideration, very important consideration, was that there should be water. So how the water was to be brought, this has been described. The water, there was already a canal existing right from the days of Emperor Akbar, but it got silted, it was cleaned, and the person who was there in the repairing and cleaning and bringing the canal before the construction began was Ali Mardan Khan, who was actually an Iranian who defected for the cause of Shah Jahan, and he was an extremely nice builder also. So there is appreciation of water, because we find Shah Jahan all the time talking about the heat of Agra. His historians, talking about heat of Agra, and he was so concerned about the heat that just before his displacement by his son, he constructed a summer house known as Mukhlispur in the present day hilly area of India, in North India itself, which has not survived. So there are two considerations, that there should be a good place, and second should be there should be water, because water played extremely important role in the construction and the beautification, because these are not simply monuments, but there were many fountains for the beautification, and also obviously for the day-to-day living, water was essential. So that is also described there. And these are also the reasons, but we should always remember that having a new city or new capital doesn't mean that the earlier cities were abandoned. Not at all. The name of Agra will be known as Mustaqar al-Khilafa, that is abode of caliphate, and now Lahore will always remain Darus Sultanate. So these were the two fine cities, Lahore and Delhi, which he inherited from his obviously ancestors, but he is increasing, because his historians say, as I showed you one slide, that his love for ornamentation, love of urban planning is there. So he is shifting, but shifting doesn't mean that the other cities were abandoned. Finally, what we find, let me introduce you who is Waris, but Waris as official historian, India-born historian, like Abul Fazl. And there existed a tradition of describing all the building after building in accurate manner, but they are described only once they have finished. And there is main emphasis on the measurement, on the layout of the building, and all these measurements are given in zira. Zira has been studied, which is slightly less than a yard. But the number of buildings which have been constructed in the new place in the course of 10 years, you could see how many buildings, their names are now different. Daulat Khana Khas, we know that there is so much discussion about it. Aramgah Muqaddas, which was the place where the emperor used to have rest. Mahal Kala, Imtiaz Mahal, which is now known as Rang Mahal. Then there were some buildings which were there for symmetry, because scholars of architecture emphasize that Shah Jahan had a lot of concern for Qarina or symmetry, Khwabgah, then the rest houses or the palaces for the harem or the females, and especially for Jahara, and also for the attendants, and Khwaspura. And they describe it in exact manner, the location of the building, how many fountains are there, and where they are located, how they are beautified, what is the material used. We know that there were a different kind of material, and a whole architectural terminology or the terms are going to come up. For the palace, obviously, very soon I am going to discuss with you what is the significance of this palace, why Shah Jahan is so much involved, but you'll find the appreciation, this heavenly fort in the form of Baghdadi octagon, Musammam Baghdadi, and this is Herat Afzai Sayyahan Jahan Rubai Maskunas. This is an astonishment even for those who have traveled the inhabited quarter of the world. We know during the 17th century, India was much visited country. We know that a number of French travelers, European travelers were also there. Bernier's account of all these buildings we can read. So there is a lot of consciousness about the construction and what is the reason of this vast construction they are given. And we know about the Taj Mahal, which was constructed earlier. So I'm not discussing anything about Taj Mahal. I'm just showing that major construction is Rawza-e Munawwara. The original name of Taj Mahal is not Taj Mahal, but Rawza-e Munawwara. Similarly, names of the buildings have also changed, but I'm concerned with the original presentation. Then there is Hammam, very essential thing. There are gardens. So they are all described, but as I said in the beginning, entire credit, invariably all the historians, official historian, whether Sheikh Muhammad Waris or whether Lahori or the earlier historian Tabatabai or Qazvini, or just in the beginning, I showed the writing of the major Chandrabhan Brahman, who has written extensively about the buildings, about the emperor also, because he had a long service under the Mughal Empire. They invariably emphasize that Ivan with firm foundations. Ivan is any building, but here they are talking about the 40 pillars, Chil Sutun, in front of Jharokar, elegantly designed and constructed. And it was an innovation, Mustahaddasat, literally invention or innovation or discovery of no other person but Sahab Qirani Sani, that is Shah Jahan's title. This is modern picture of one of the market known as Bazar-e Musaqqaf. This is the only market which was built on Iranian prototype, because Ali Wardi Khan built a similar Bazar-e Musaqqaf or the covered market in Peshawar, and Shah Jahan wanted similar. And one modern picture, what is there, the market is no more there. But I'm showing how the ideas were passing. This is my own translation. The plan of covered market of Peshawar, because Shah Jahan is not alone actually. There is a consciousness for architecture in Shah Jahan's reign. This has been accepted by historians of art and architecture as well as by historians working on the textual sources, but there are others. It's a very good coincidence, happy coincidence. Men like Amirul Umra Ali Mardan Khan, who received best kind of education in Iran. He is one of the best architects giving ideas on architecture, but unfortunately no book has survived that we can talk what Ali Mardan Khan was doing. His buildings are there, so Ali Mardan Khan is there. I'm going to show you soon. There are others also, but they are mainly as supervisors. We do not find architects. We find name, I'll be telling you, but this shows how the ideas are passing. Emperor Shah Jahan, who was always on move, he was going towards Kabul and Kashmir. More than 7 times he visited Kashmir and Kabul for political reasons, as well as to avoid the heat of Agra and Delhi. And Kabul and Kandahar were his concern because there was dispute with Iran on that. But Ali Mardan Khan has constructed of mortar and bricks, Baghdadi octagonal style, with 2 open unroofed markets at the intersecting plaza Charsu, from which roads go in 4 directions, and which at the time of passing of the sublime cavalcade came to His Majesty's bounty spreading notice and had received the honor of royal praise, was sent to Makramat Khan. Who is Makramat Khan? Makramat Khan or Makaramat Khan is also from Iran, who received high education in Shiraz before he migrated. I'll be showing his career in a brief manner because people do not know, but he's also the real man who is behind the construction, who supervised Taj Mahal or Rawza Munawwara, as well as the entire edifices of Delhi were supervised by no other man but Makaramat Khan, who received best kind of education in Hamadan and Shiraz. So the map was sent to him, and it is he who prepared. The market is not there, but market was being constructed by Makramat Khan on the instructions of the emperor. This I'm showing you because so much is there to show you and time is limited. This is my manuscript because as Professor Gullu said in the beginning, that I'm working on a critical edition of Sheikh Muhammad Waris Pādshāhnāma. And for that, I got a fellowship from Oxford, where I was also privileged to be a student there. And but I also got other manuscripts from Indian libraries, and this particular one is from Khuda Bakhsh Oriental Public Library. And the problem is that none of the manuscript is illustrated. That is the problem. The first volume has been illustrated, which is known as Windsor Castle Pādshāhnāma, which has been published, but nothing like this has been done for volume 2 or 3, but there are dispersed paintings. I'll be showing you some of the paintings. This is Bodleian one. They are of the same date. I have compared these volumes, only then I'm talking about it. This is one from Salarjung Museum, but this is the volume 1. And this is the Pādshāhnāma, I said volume 1, which has got images, which has been published. Then I have already introduced you. This is Jharokha-e Khas. This has been translated by scholars who have worked in the very beginning, who were related to, who were working for Archaeological Society of India. So this is translation about Jharokha-e Khas. This has been done by many scholars before also. What is the purpose of Jharokha-e Khas? What kind of ornamentation is there? What is the role of Parchimkari? What the panels were brought from Italy or they are from India? In the end, I can show you that there is a lot of emphasis on indigenous production. There is no reference to Europe at all. Shah Jahan's court was emphasizing things which were produced in India by Indian artisans. Material used, as I said, material used, we know that there is a transition from the red sandstone, but red sandstone is still being used. There is use of white marble. We know that that is the change, but historian is writing about it. From where it is coming, it is mainly coming from Makrana in Rajasthan, but they also mention there is some material which was used for whitening, which was produced in Gujarat, but we do not know exactly what this material is. Then there is also, when I am reading these volumes, I am finding that the Persian is not Persian. This is Indo-Persian. A whole vocabulary of architects is emerging. Jharokha is an Indian word. Bangla is an Indian word. Parchimkari is an Indian word. It's not Pitra Dwara. Chaukhandi, Kalash, Chabutra, Chalk, Square, Chalky. So indigenization of the Persian language is also going on in 30 long years of Emperor Shah Jahan's reign. Then obviously these are techniques. It's a truly multinational world. So there are techniques, innovating, decorating techniques coming from various parts of the world, which are known as Sanate Ainakari. We know there was also decoration with the mirrors, and mirrors are supposed to be brought from Halbi. Maybe they were from Syria or from India. Name can be different. Mosaic work, Munabbitkari, stone relief work, Kashikari, decoration of glazed tiles, Parchinkari, stone intarsia, Girhabandi, geometrical ornamentation. All these are described by Varis, that in different parts of the building, which particular surface decoration is being applied. It's a very, very extensive extensive description of each and every building. It's different. It is difficult to do justice with them. As I am working, I am realizing that I should take up one building one after the other. And these are the official estimates, because it was nature of Shah Jahan that whatever money was spent, because modern scholars who are doing comparative study of different empires, Ottoman Empire and Safavid Empire, Mughal Empire, and especially when they compare with the Safavids, they find that Mughal Empire was far more, far more prosperous in terms of its very flourishing agrarian economy and also trade and commerce, because it was prime center of trade and commerce. So it was the habit of Shah Jahan, because he was spending a lot of money. So all the accounts is there, how much money was spent on each and every building of Shahjahanabad. Just now I'm introducing you the major architect, not architect. I'm very sorry to say, we do not come across any architect except two architects' names are there, which scholars know. There is Ahmad, Nadirul Asr, and Hamid. They are just once mentioned, but actually we get information and again about the supervisor. So I tried to study the life or the biography of supervisors. I have chosen to study Mullah Murshid Shirazi because he is the man who contributed in the building of Taj Mahal and now of Shahjahanabad was finished under his supervision. As just now I said, man from Hamadan and educated in Shiraz, but he is described by his biographer that he has passion for poetry, but he also had skills for finance. That could be one of the reasons why he had so many promotions quickly, although he joined Emperor Shah Jahan when he was Prince Khurram, because many immigrants, Iranian, like many other Iranians, he first came to Deccan in Burhanpur, and when Shah Jahan saw him, he took him along with his court, and he was given the post of Diwan-e-Butat and later on Mir Saman. So both the positions had to do with the expenses, expenditure, maintenance of the imperial household. So Makramat Khan may be having these skills. Makramat Khan left no, or Mullah Murshid Shirazi, original name is Mullah Murshid Shirazi, left no building, but I came across a very good reference that he was, when he was living in Delhi, where he died after the completion of buildings, he also laid a garden which he gave to Emperor Shah Jahan, and Emperor Shah Jahan gifted the same garden to his daughter, to his eldest daughter, Jahanara, and that garden became part of Jahanara's garden, and Mullah Murshid Shiraz left nothing for us. We cannot even locate his grave where he served in India for such a long time, and finally where he died in Shahjahanabad as superintendent in charge of the fort complex. Another architect is Abdul Karim Mamuri. We know that he was actually the architect of Emperor Jahangir, but I came across his life story throughout the Waris Pādshāhnāma. He was alive. He is known as Darogha-e-Imarat of Agra. He was involved in construction of Taj Mahal also, and he was also working with Makramat Khan, but he became quite old at the time of construction of the Shahjahanabad, but he's very much there. And I found a practice that upon the death of Mullah Murshid Shirazi and also upon the death of Abdul Karim Mamuri, their sons were incorporated by Emperor Shah Jahan in the bureaucracy, although on a very minor position. And their titles are either Darogha-e-Imarat or Mir Imarat. So what was their training as architect? We do not know, unfortunately, because there is no book on the history of architecture written during this period. But as scholars say, that Mughal architecture itself is a theory. There are other major supervisors. I introduce you Makramat Khan because I find him extremely interesting person, how he spent his life in India, how he received education in Iran, what kind of person he was, that he was associated with the construction of both the edifices, and he was also having important position as governor of Delhi, known as Shahjahanabad, as a province. There is another man, Mullah Alaul Mulk Tuni, who was also in Shah Jahan employment. Finally, he became Prime Minister of Emperor Aurangzeb, but he died, and his life story is also there. Higher education in Iran, coming to India, and he is one of the builders or supervisor builder in the Jama Masjid, which was being constructed later on in the second phase, because Shahjahanabad is constructed in second phase. That is my study from the Pādshāhnāma. I am showing you the picture of Mullah Alaul Mulk Tuni, one of the picture of Mullah Alaul Mulk Tuni. And here is this Khalilullah Khan. He is the man who laid one of the major supervisor of the Shalimar Gardens of Lahore. And incidentally, these supervisors, they were also military men having very high ranks, because in the Mughal Empire, there was a tradition, or rather in the imperial hierarchy, they were also mansabdar, that is holders of a certain jagir or land, and also important position like the provincial governors or or any other position. And this is the picture of Allami Sadullah Khan, the final Prime Minister of Emperor Shah Jahan, who is involved in the construction of Jama Masjid, which was constructed, finalized in 1656. And he is the man, he is more involved in the conquest, or rather in the Balkh and Badakhshan campaign. But he was also associated with the construction of Shahjahanabad. How I came to know this? Actually, he was also an India-born man. This is a very brief biography which I discovered in British Library, but a highly educated person he was. Why I'm emphasizing him? Because finally, given the time, I'll be pointing out a very important aspect which scholars like Bagley have raised, the issue of the meaning of the architecture, the symbolism in the Mughal architecture or Shah Jahani architecture, form and symbol. So two aspects they emphasize. One is the political symbol. Obviously, every emperor wanted to show his power, his strength. They are sort of, sort of disciplining the space, controlling the space. But Shah Jahan's entire historiography of architecture is full of sophistic ideas. And I think these ideas are coming heavily from people like Sadullah Khan, whom very few people know this, but the only inscription, because apart from the textual sources to study the Shah Jahani architecture, that is the official sources, Pādshāhnāma, the second and third source are inscriptions. And both of these sources are also embedded in the textual sources. So this inscription written by Sadullah Khan on one of the buildings is no more there, but it was being copied by a 19th century reformer, Sayyid Ahmad Khan, in his book Asarus Sanadid, which is one of the first book on the history of Delhi's monuments. He copied it, and from there it was being copied by Stephen Kerr, and from there I got it, and then I compared the text from the Pādshāhnāma. So we could see how many words are there which are related to Holy Quran, to Hadith, and to Sufism. So along with the political symbolism, I think the paradisiacal imagery predominates Shah Jahan's buildings' extensive description in Pādshāhnāma, because throughout the literary description of all the monuments, as you could read from here, we find that either it is the description of gardens, like Hayat Bakhsh is the main garden, which is no more there in Shahjahanabad. We find this imagery is there, or description of water channels, how much the water is important. They are imbued with Quranic terms and Sufi imagery, like the term Baitul Atiq, which you will see in this translation, inhabited house, that is Baitul Mamur, much frequented house, Holy Kaaba, Sidratul Muntaha, which is a Quranic terms occurring 3 times in the Quran, the lotus tree of uttermost boundary, the borderland between the angelic realm and the world dominion. Quranic verse was employed this as a metaphor to proclaim, because this very term, the Sidratul Muntaha, is used by Abdul Hamid Lahori as well as by Waris to proclaim. It's used as a metaphor. It says that in this paradisical land, Hindustan, Jannat Nishan, the art of building have reached its pinnacle. And there were similar declaration by Qazvini in the first decade, when Taj Mahal or the Rawza Munawwara just is beginning to be built. He declared that such a building is not has been built in the past, nor in the future such a building is going to be constructed. So this man, Sadullah Khan, who was very close to Emperor Shah Jahan, and we find references that Dara Shikoh was not very happy many times due to this closeness, because he joined on a very minor post. but soon, because of his personal accomplishments, he was promoted to the position of Prime Minister, and most of the work, military campaigns in Balkh, Badakhshan, in Deccan, and especially the construction work, the building, they were also given to him. So he wrote this very wonderful inscription, which I want all of us to read. So what could be there if we read it? Because here Sadullah Khan is asking that one can circumambulate it, but one can have a tawaf of, because this is Kaaba, because this is Baitul Atiq. So I think this is the influence of mysticism, because scholars working on the 17th century India, they agree that mysticism was a very powerful force in 17th century Indian society, to the extent that the theme which I am exploring has got around more than 20 scholars who are categorized as Sufi their life. And then Jahara's devotion to Mullah Shah Badakhshi, or even Dara Shikoh's devotion is known. And I have a feeling that perhaps Shah Jahan too was influenced either directly or indirectly, or because he was a well-read man, given very high education. Akbar supervises education somewhere else. I have dealt about his teachers also in detail. And there, this is also an inscription which is no more there. The English translation is done by Stephen Kerr in the book, from the production in Urdu by Sayyid Ahmad Khan. So these are the two inscriptions. There are some more inscriptions. I think I showed you just two, it will be difficult. This is the picture I am showing you, the Jama Masjid, which was constructed only towards the end. And similarly for this Jama Masjid also, the description is very extensive. Until now, there exists no translation. It is more than 10 folio description. And I found that this Jama Masjid also had a hospital and a madrasa, that is seminary for education, like typical Islamic urban architectural complex, which we can kulliye or imarat. So that this was constructed in the second phase. As just now I said that Shahjahanabad was constructed in two phases. The first phase is from 1638 to 48. And the second one is from 48 until 58, the next 10 years. So what is happening now in the next 10 years? This is what I wanted to show you. So in the next 10 years, who are important? Important are the ladies. The ladies of the Haram or Harim or Shabistani Harim, they play extremely important role in the second phase. So in the second phase comes Jahara. In the second phase comes a lady who is little known, Akbarabadi Mahal. Who is Akbarabadi Mahal? Akbarabadi Mahal is a wife of Emperor Shah Jahan, and I find references to her throughout the third volume which I am studying, Waris Pādshāhnāma, wife of Emperor Shah Jahan. So what she contributed was, she is one of the contributor. Another wife, Fatehpuri Mahal, is a contributor, wife of Shah Jahan. And obviously, apart from that, Princess Jahara is there. The three ladies' contribution has been graphically described by Waris. There is no distinction in the description of the buildings or monuments constructed by Emperor Shah Jahan, the imperial or the family members. They are described in similar manner by Waris. Their layout, exact measurement building by building of various structures within a building, because these buildings are not simply a building like, say, a mosque. If there is a mosque which Akbarabadi built, the mosque is no more there because it was destroyed after the revolt of 1857. There is also a Karvasarai which has been described extensively. And for the Karvasarai, there is a hammam also, bathhouse, and there is also Azabad gardens. So on the one side, she constructed a mosque, a Karvasarai, a hammam, and along with that, these ladies of the Haram, they also made a waqf. And clearly the historian is writing that this is for the benefit of people, and it is a waqf, that is for the benefaction from these ladies. Similarly, there is Fatehpuri Mahal. She also constructed a mosque, a garden, a Karmasarai, but only her mosque has survived, and also a madrasa for students to live, which was completed in 1650. Similarly, the Akbarabadi complex was completed in 1650. Most of the second phase construction after the fort complex was completed in 50 or after the 56. Then Emperor Shah Jahan is also continuously constructing. As I said, Masjid-e-Jahanuma is the name given to him by him to the Friday Mosque, which is there. So that got completed in July 1656. And the way these were inaugurated, Emperor went to offer prayers, especially on the occasion of Eid, or the occasion of the second, that is Eid al-Azha or Eid al-Fitr, and there were prayers, and thereafter there were special ceremony by these patrons. Ceremony is known as Nisar, in which they offered many jewels, many expensive items for the emperor, and emperor also in turn offered. And there were also a state list of promotion. For instance, after the completion of the fort, we have got who got what. The dancers, or after the inauguration, there were ceremonies of dancing, of music. The curtains were made in Kashmir and other places, and emperor is rewarding, and those things have been recorded very well. Along with the construction of the fort and the second phase construction, emperor started allotting land to the nobles and high-ranking nobles like Itiqad Khan. Who is Itiqad Khan? He is Mir Bakhshi, or Paymaster General of the Army, to his eldest son Dara Shikoh. And these buildings are not known as Haveli, not at all. These buildings are known as Manzil. And the money spent in the construction of Manzil varied between 2 lakhs to 4 lakhs. Not 20 lakhs, what the semi-official historian Kambo has to write. Then there were also fortification of the city. There was also construction of Eidgah, prayer for where prayers were to be held for Eid, and emperor went there. As just now I said that Queen Akbarabadi Mahal also constructed a garden. Garden is no more there. And you can find it is similarly described like other buildings, monuments, or gardens are described by the official historian. This I have taken from Sheikh Muhammad Waris Pādshāhnāma, and the name of the garden was Azabad, and it was constructed on the models of Garden of Kashmir, Achwal Garden and Shalamar Garden. It is written over there because emperor during his last visit to Kashmir faced the problem of natural calamities there due to the excessive rain, and it is written in Pādshāhnāma that emperor started saying, why to come to Kashmir each and every time? Why not to develop gardens here in our own city, cosmopolitan city, Shahjahanabad? As I said, and then poets were also rewarded, and there was a tradition that when a building was completed, poetry was written. As we know that there were court poets because their life are given in the epilogue of Pādshāhnāma. They wrote extensive poetry, which is now known as topographical poetry, because Shah Jahan's time is also the time of growth of this genre of topographical poetry. Abu Talib Kalim also wrote poetry for Hammam because he was alive when Shahjahanabad was being constructed. There is another scholar, poet, Mir Yahya Kashi. He wrote this particular chronogram. Shahjahanabad was established by Shah Jahan, and he got 1,000 rupees. But for the after the inauguration ceremony, which is described in a very detailed manner, how the buildings were decorated, what Makarmat Khan, for instance, was given. But again, there is no name of any architect. Supervisor's name is there. There is no name for painters also, but Naqqashanas are always there. And our scholar or our historian is emphasizing that if even Mani comes and he sees the paintings of Shahjahanabad, especially Jaroka Darshan and the Diwan-e Khas, as we know, there are human images also. And he says that even Mani or Bizad, they will not be able to, rather they will be feeling inferior when they will be looking at it. But the inauguration function is closed by the writings of Amir Khusro, because we know this famous poet Amir Khusro, he was also a poet. He is known for his love of Delhi, and he's one of the first poet who started writing topographical poetry. Qiranus Saden, which is about the buildings of Tughlaqabad and other places, which are no more there, except they are there in, including these Chihil Sutun, which are there in Amir Khusro's poetry. And the official historian, Sheikh Muhammad Waris, is writing that Darul Mulk Delhi has become now Darul Khilafat, seat of caliphate, imperial residence. This title was earlier enjoyed by Agra, and Agra is now given the title of settled abode of caliphate, Darul Mulk. And now the title of Shahjahanabad is given to Kabul, because Shah Jahan was very fond of Kabul and his gardens were there. And Lahore continued to be called lovingly abode of sovereignty. Because time is closing, so I think I should just show you some pictures which I got from the, very kindly with the permission of the Fine Arts Library collection. We have got wonderful collection in the Fine Arts Library. These pictures of rare pictures, I show you only few. None of the second and third volume has been illustrated, so I have no picture to show you except showing what I got. These are 19th century pictures. They have been studied very well, because when British became rulers of North India, they showed much interest, and scientific study of Mughal monuments was given great impetus. So they are made, I got it from there. These are some of the paintings, and this is like just, I'll end it with it. I haven't translated it because when Emperor went to Kashmir, there were poetical assemblies in the Diwan-e-Am, Diwan-e Khas, which was there in Kashmir also, in Srinagar. And a poet of Srinagar presented this to the emperor, that this is about the, in praise of Bagh-e-Hayat Bakhsh, because I showed you the writing of Sadullah Khan inscription. Sadullah Khan said that Bagh-e-Hayat is like, it is soul to body, it is so important. So there is a lot of matter for, not only for historians of architecture, but for historians of environment also, that maybe because of heat, lot of consciousness, though Shah Jahan didn't write anything for himself, but for visual culture or other things. But what interest the historian would have read before writing Pādshāhnāma, what is written there in Jahangīrnāma, what is written by Babar, who started this tradition of garden. So everything is there. And I think now I would like to close, because Professor Gulru may be feeling that now time is over. Thank you.